How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime, all things manga, and I'm here today with a very special video of a review / breakdown on why you should watch, in my opinion, the most underrated anime that came out last year, which is Orb on the Movements of the Earth. It's a Netflix anime. It's from an adaptation of a manga. And this thing to me is a masterpiece, and I want to pretty much break down why I think so and why I think that Orb does such a good job at pretty much world building and establishing characters, and just the writing is stellar, and why I think you should definitely check it out, and why it's one of my favorite animes of last year that now that it's over, I can really talk about it. Now, before I go any further with this entire review / breakdown, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about Orb. So, funny thing, I found out about this show actually from, I believe, somebody in the comment section in one of my videos was like, hey, you should check out this video. Oh, I think it was for my top 10 anime of 2024. And I think somebody was like, hey, you should definitely check it out because it would have made it in your list. And spoilers, for anybody wondering, if I had seen the show, and now that I've actually finished the show, I can confidently say that it would have been my number one of last year, for sure. I think that or Nier, one of the two, but Nier Automata, the anime version. But I think I can speak confidently saying that it's at least top 2 of last year, if not the absolute. And you know what? In retrospect, I think it is the best one. Because just the amount of plot twists and turns in this show was phenomenal. Not even mentioning the characters, which is something I want to talk about, that I think this is such an interesting way that this story went about, which is pretty much is not so much that there's a main character or an MC per se. It's more like you see a journey from how people came to realize that, the Earth spin, and how it was not the center of the universe. And there's a lot of politics and intrigue, and you see a lot of the insights of the church, and not to get too political or anything, but you see the politics behind why they would want to keep that shush, and why they would be called heretics for doing searching to search the truth in science and all that. And I thought that was really fascinating, as well as the characters. Like I said, for example, the main character at the beginning of the story, the first character introduced, Raffle, this young student guy that he's going to go up to college, and he wants to study at first theology, but then he's like, no, you know what? I want to study the cosmos and learn about the stars and all that. And, he starts pretty much digging too close into the truth. And that's why, the church, and that's the main kind of villain in the story, and, Nowak, I believe that was his name, one of the guys, the Inquisitors, he is a menace. This is one of the most frightening villains I think I've seen in an anime in a very long time, because the craziest thing about him is that, for me, how I've always felt is that the best villains ever made are always the ones that see themselves as like actually being the good guys, or, the ones that think they're in the right, just not being evil for the sake of being evil, especially when they have such a twisted mindset, and that really justifies their actions. Like, for example, the Nowak, the character that he's kind of like the antagonist throughout this whole story, because from beginning to like almost the end, he is a plot thread that's always comes back full circle, and honestly disposes over main characters. And his whole life's purpose is to pretty much destroy the whole hello centimeters, the whole theory about the world, the Earth not being the center of the universe, the spin, and because that's not what his religion's about. And throughout it all, you see how just he disposes of all these people. Like, eventually, it first starts with Raffle, and I want to talk about him. The way that he goes out. Oh, by the way, this is gonna be full spoilers, so don't get it twisted. This is an entirely full spoiler. Just right off the get go. So don't expect it to be like anything about that, because I want to talk about like pretty much why I like the show, and that's full spoilers. Like, talking about this show without spoiling it is very hard. So that I'm sorry. So I just gotta bring it up. So right off the get-go, when we see Raffle pretty much be taken out, like within 4 episodes or so, it felt something like that. I was like, ain't no way, you just killed the main character. What the guy had, and by the way, full transparency, I had seen like all the promotional images of the show. It was this kid, and I was just like, oh, he's gonna be the main character. I was like, there's no way he's gonna die. He's gonna come up with like a big scheme, like, oh, he faked his death. No, he dies. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And this was kind of a cool, interpretation where we see that Noah, even though he, got rid of the kid, or he was gonna execute the kid, he's like, what, asking the kid, why are you so infatuated with the truth and all that? I was like, you see, because I don't care if I die, my will and the will of mankind will continue on, and eventually someone will learn the truth, because the truth can only be withheld so long. And honestly, Raffle's whole thing gave me a lot of like, I don't know if you guys ever seen One Piece. He gave me a lot of like, the will of D, Roger, how, all the people with the will of D, they're always smile when they're deaf, the inherited will, and how they continue on, like, how everybody of the D clan has died with a smile. That's why I thought it was fascinating. Like this entirety of the show, you see everybody, carrying on Raffle's legacy, and then turns around, where Noah, he's trying to eliminate all these threats, and he himself, he resents this kid because he's like, you cost so much, like your little facade and charade that you did, this really has cost me a lot. And it does cost him a lot, because it costs him not only his mental state, but also his family relationship with his daughter. It takes a big strain in the relationship with Jolenta, the daughter, which, for the record, Jolenta, magnificent character. Honestly, bro, like if I had to be honest, if I had to rank my favorite characters in this show, I would definitely have Jolenta top 3, without a doubt. She was stellar. Her character arc, her story, everything was magnificent. The way that she goes out, just chef's kiss. It was just, man, this show just gets you in the feels, man. Like, and talking about another character that eventually carries on the will of Raffle, that's Oxy, and that's where we get to the Badini, which is the priest, and Jolenta meeting all of them meeting up and trying to find the truth and do the research. And as all that continues on, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, they finally got it. Like, they're gonna publish this book and everything's gonna be good, right? And every time you think to yourself like, oh, they're in the clear, this is finally gonna happen, something goes wrong. And when that something goes wrong, it's always Noah that's always involved. And that was, like I said, he's a very threatening villain. One of those villains that anytime he shows up, you're like, oh no, like I'm scared for my cast of characters. Especially that scene where he sees Jolenta and Badini and Oxy in the bar. He's just like, hey, stop messing with my daughter. I was like, oh no, like he knows too much. Especially when he goes eventually, meets up with Oxy and Badini, as they get pretty much caught, thanks because of Oxy's little sphere that was carried by one of the heretics that had the little sphere, same one as Raffle had. It all sets in motion, to the eventual death of both Oxy and Badini. And Badini was also another goat, man. This guy, such a fascinating character, a character that was pretty much a man of God. And he believed truly that it was God's purpose to pretty much the truth to come out. And the fact of the matter that he got caught while reading all material of the hallucinometers and stuff that he shouldn't have been reading, and how his priest is like, hey, listen, put it down and we'll pretend like this never happened. It's your first offense. But if you read it, we will have to apprehend you. And Badini, as the Giga Chat that he is, he said, bet. And he proceeded to read as much as he could, as fast as he could, because he only had such a limited amount of time. But that limited amount of time gave him a little ninja, a little push towards the truth that he wanted to chase. And that was really great. And, eventually that's how he gets his eye, messed up. And that's why he wears an eye patch. And a really important moment with him was where, eventually when Oxy and himself get captured by Noah and they're tortured horribly by him. There's a scene where, he's not going to spill the beans at all. He's not going to tell them where they have the secret stash of the documents and everything of their research, because Oxy is a man of honor. He's not going to just make it all go to waste. And Badini's in that same boat until, Noah is about to like pretty much blind Oxy the same way, by putting like a flame in his eye. And I love the thing that Badini says about like to Oxy, because Oxy's like, why would you just give it up? Like, why would you just, our research go to waste? It's like we're all gonna die regardless. It's like, yeah, but as somebody that has gone through that pain, that the torture of like losing an eye, I couldn't just stand there and make you do that same, because I know the pain. You say you're down to do it and all that, but you really don't know how painful it is. And that was a really great moment, and a moment that really represented, like, you know, the chemistry between Bedini and Oxy, and just their relationship, because you know, they're always kind of being like the straight man and the very like unintellectual guy. You know, Oxy, you know, he's not very smart, he can't read, but their bond throughout the story was really, really sweet. And the way they went out, it was just like, man, it's heartbreaking. Which then leads to Jolenta escaping. And as Jolenta escaped, you know, I thought to myself, like, because there's a point where Noak, he's told by one of the priests that hates Noak, he wants to kind of eliminate Noak out of the church. He's like, oh yeah, your daughter, she was a heretic, we killed her, yada yada yada. And that sets Noak in a deep depression, and we don't see him at all for a while, until he gets reintroduced later on, many years in the future, where he's much of an older man. And we see that pretty much he is washed. You know, he's a man that has pretty much lost, you know, any, you know, urgency in life. He's kind of just a drunk now. Pretty much after throughout the story, he thinks that Jolenta's dead. And obviously later on, we find out that she's not, through Draka Ashmedit, the knight that protects Draka, which is another character that I really like. Draka, her whole thing where, you know, she's very greedy, and, you know, how she goes and prioritizes, like, you know what, I want to make sure that Jolenta's wish comes true, where everything gets printed. And Schmidt, man, this guy, another goat. Like, there's so many characters in this show where I was just like so involved and so invested in it. And when they sadly all get, you know, defeated and lose and they get killed, I was just like, no, please, I'm begging you. But that's another thing that this show does a great job at, which is pretty much the path of, you know, truth. And there's always, you know, a big track of bodies behind, you know, there's a big trail of bodies. And, you know, it was not an easy way to get to the truth. And, you know, it cost many people their lives. But the point is that as long as people have ambition, and as long as they have dreams, they will continue on and push no matter what, even if it means losing their life, because, you know, you got to chase your dreams. And you see in the entirety of the story, you know, Jolenta, when she goes out, she has said that all those years she just kind of been living out of hatred, you know, and despise because of her friends that died, and how the church did her dirty. And that's why she wants to publish this book so badly, with the research, thanks to Draka, because she read the book that Oxy wrote in Bedini, and she knows like she can trust Draka, because she then tells Jolenta the story, and then she writes it down. Like, okay, you guys gotta publish it now. But then once again, Nowak comes into the story once again to ruin, you know, any progress towards the future. And the moment where, you know, Jolenta eventually sacrifices herself to buy them some time, man, that was such a powerful moment. You know, Jolenta, you know, being afraid obviously at the beginning, but then realizing, like, you know what, I'm gonna go out on my own terms. And she went out with a bang, no pun intended. It was such a great moment. And I think, like, if I'm being honest, Jolenta might be one of the best female characters I've seen in anime, not just in a while, I think period, like ever, honestly, because she was such a well-written character, you know, from back when she was, you know, just that little assistant in the church, to eventually being somebody revolting against it. And, you know, the passion and the conviction that she has on her mission, because she is the last will that Oxy and Bedini left behind, honestly. And just everything regarding her was phenomenal. And it still hurts me knowing that she's dead, but it was not in vain. Because what happens after the fact is that once Draka and Schmidt get defeated, you know, as everything seems like it's all going to waste, you know, they're about to be all defeated. They eventually do get pretty much killed. They'll get defeated, but who also gets defeated is Noak. In this final play where we see that Draka eventually meets up with one of the priests that was going to publish the book, we see that Noah finds what's going on, and he sees the priest like, what were you guys doing? Well, you published this book, you're a priest, you shouldn't be doing that. And eventually, you know, the priest is just like, listen, you are a small fry, listen, I take it from here, I'm a priest, I know what I'm doing. And this is where Noah snaps, and he proceeds to just kill the priest and set the whole church on fire. The whole church gets set on fire, I think because of Draka or Noah, I forget. But the point is, in his last moments, as you know, he stabs Draka, and she eventually runs away and, you know, dies from bloodlust. Noak had already been previously injured by Schmid. He is in his final moments, you know, reminiscing on his life choices, how he got to this point, and he starts thinking about Raffle, and he's saying like, why is it always that you? It's always something regarding you. Why? And then that's what Raffle's just pretty much telling him, like, listen, I'm just an illusion, bro. Like, I'm not the real me. Like, I've been dead. This and that. And he's like, honestly, have you been doing the right thing? Like, it's all up to, point of view. You thought you were doing something good. I thought I was doing something good. There's no real saying it. And there's a moment where we see that as he's thinking all of this, he, thinks of his daughter, Jolenta. And there was an important scene where, as she exploded herself. We see that Noah carried a hand of the corpse of the chick, and in his last moments he puts the glove in Jolenta's dead body, and he finds out that that is his daughter. He finds out in the last couple of seconds that Jolenta is his daughter, and man, it was such a powerful scene. And how we all wrap this thing, like how everything gets wrapped up at the end, it's another thing that I was like, what? There ain't no way. We see the introduction of the final protagonist of the story, which is Albert. And this guy, we see that he's kind of like, he wants to study astrology. He's looking at the stars, but he's kind of like, I don't want to do it no more. He's kind of debating, like, should I go study? Because he's working like at this bakery. He doesn't know if he wants to go to college or not. And then we get a whole flashback of him and his, lore. And we find out that he was actually a student of Raffle. And that was something I was not expecting. I was like, whoa, you're tying it all together. I was like, yo, it goes full circle. Ain't no way. I was like, yo, this is fantastic. I was like, what the heck? And throughout it all, you see pretty much how he learns from Raffle, how Raffle pretty much puts him in the path of, you should study like astrology and, learn the truth about like, the Earth's rotation and all that. And as, Raffle eventually kills his father, because he was trying to do that behind, Albert's back, he pretty much explains to Albert, it's like, oh, I'm sorry you had to see this, but let me explain why I did this. It's like, your father knew too much. He was being selfish. He didn't want to give me his research. So I had to take it in one way or another. So it is what it is. And pretty much we then obviously know that Raffle did die. But we do know that Albert, in the present time, we come back to him and he starts thinking like, you know what, I will go to college and I will learn about like, I will study to pretty much find the truth. Because same way as my father, where he went about it the wrong way by, thinking that knowledge should not be shared. And the same way that my teacher went about the wrong way by pretty much by any means necessary spread this knowledge, by even if it means killing people. I want to do it my own way, my own path. And I want to do it in a path that is the righteousness. Like, it's a righteousness path. I don't want to do it in a very, like I don't want to compromise who I am as a person. So we see that pretty much as the story ends, we got this closing credits where we pretty much explain how, he went to school, he eventually graduated, he became a teacher, and then he taught eventually to the class, and he had many students, and eventually one of his students later on was the guy that proved, Corepicus, I think that's his name. I could be wrong, I'm sorry. But we find out that this eventual student of his that, learned from him, he was the guy that discovered pretty much that the Earth rotated and it was not the center of the universe. And that's how the story ends. It ends with pretty much we had the journey of, the first real discovery of that to when it actually did happen. My only minor complaint would be that we didn't really see that. We just kind of had like a closing credits, but it's okay because I think the point of the story of Orb, I think was more about, like what it means to chase your dreams, as well as the conviction and, the resiliency of, humankind, and how we will always push, to the future in no matter what the cause is, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to anybody to interpret. But overall, I thought this show was fantastic. I loved it, and I think that you guys should definitely check it out. Like I said, this show I think it's a 10 out of 10. I loved it, and you guys should definitely check it out. But yeah, and if you have checked it out, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts about it. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about Orb, the anime? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.